I lost over 5 kilograms or 11 pounds in the last couple of months. This is what I look like then, and this is what I look like now. So, how did I get here? It was a lot of this, and then a little bit of this, but especially this, because nothing changed here. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to multitask for a bit. When I start creating a deficit, my deficit is usually between 10 to 15%. I anchor my protein at around 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight, and then sometimes I go up until 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, so that is a little bit higher. And then make sure that you get enough fats in, because healthy fats specifically. Fats don't make you fat. They are essential. Fats are essential for a couple of things. First one is your hormonal health. Second is for the absorption of certain vitamins. But fats are also essential for controlling your hunger hormones. And that is something that is quite important whenever you are trying to be in a deficit. So the remaining calories are for the carbs, and with carbs I try to make sure that I eat them around my training, because it helps me with getting good lift in and it helps me with my energy. And then I also want to mention fiber, because fiber is key. Make sure that you get enough in, especially for your digestive health. By the way, a calorie deficit is the difference between what your body needs to maintain its current state versus what it is getting on a daily basis. And if it is a deficit, meaning that it gets less than what it needs to maintain, you will lose weight. Now, as you can maybe imagine, when you are in the process of actually losing weight, the energy that your body needs to maintain its current state, its smaller current state, will gradually be lower and lower as well, which is why short or small people don't need as much energy as a big or a large person. So therefore, it is kind of a continuous process of you having to turn on the dials to make sure that you keep being in a deficit whenever you are in the process of losing weight. Because what is a deficit to begin with will no longer be a deficit if you lost a couple of kilograms. While your macros largely determine what your body looks like, your micros are key for your health. So you can technically eat whatever you want to hit your macros. But making sure that you hit your macros with wholesome and nutritious foods will help with making sure that you don't run into getting deficiencies. Gym workouts are the foundation, because training whenever you are in a deficit is absolutely not about burning as many calories as possible in the gym. It's about holding on to your muscle mass and your strength while your body pulls energy from fat stores, which means that your strength training or hypertrophy work should look very similar to what it looks like whenever you are in maintenance or even whenever you're trying to bulk, because what helps you to build muscle mass is what helps you to prevent losing it whenever you're in a deficit. So you want to train each muscle 2 times per week, sometimes even 3, depending on your recovery, your goals, your frequency. Keep volume in a healthy range, and you want to keep intensity around 1 to 3 reps in reserve. At least that's a guideline that's suitable for most women. The key metric again is to retain your strength. Try to hold 90% of your pre-diet loads. If your strength drops very, very significantly or very fast, then your deficit might be too aggressive or your recovery is suffering. What we don't want to do is chase calorie burn or novelty with circuits or changing things up every single session. We want to stay consistent with progressive training, meaning that we try to at least hold on to what we have been doing, but if we can, maybe even push it, because your training is actually a signal to your body that the muscle tissue is important to keep and that we don't want to get rid of it. Because we don't just want to lose weight, we want to lose fat specifically. What we don't want to do is thinking that being in a deficit means that you have to just be eating this or this. A deficit doesn't have to be depressed. Even if you are limiting your intake, you can still make sure that whatever you are taking in is actually exciting to you or stuff that you enjoy eating. For me, I like to focus, especially whenever I'm in a deficit, on healthy and homemade foods, because the process of preparing something from scratch gives me so much satisfaction that it helps so much with the enjoyment of the entire food thing. It's not just about eating it for 30 seconds and then it's gone and you have to wait until your next meal. It's like you actually being able to prepare something from scratch and then enjoy it and then serve it and make sure that your table looks nice and don't eat it while you're on your phone and just be present in the moment. It helps a lot with making this not a very depressed deficit, but something that you can actually enjoy. And then something that I also do is to focus on high volume foods, because you can have a donut or a cupcake, which gives the same calories for a very little amount of food. So for me, a donut is 3 bites and then it's gone. And even though I love donuts, a yogurt bowl with maybe some granola, maybe some fresh fruits, add in some strawberries, some blueberries, maybe even some raspberries because they're high in fiber, it makes me feel so much more satisfied compared to that single donut. So while you can technically eat everything you want as long as you stick to your deficit, whatever you eat has a very different effect on how you feel, and that isn't just about volume, that's also about the quality of your foods.
Here's breakfast. I have the tortilla wraps with avocado mesh, some salmon, my slightly over poached eggs, some spinach for some vitamin K because I'm on my period, and then I topped it with some salt, some pepper, and then some dill. Okay, let's do a taste test. She is slightly thick.
You cannot hate your body into something that you love. So as long as you're trying to change from a place of disgust, it's not going to have the same effect as you wanting change for yourself because you love yourself and it's something that you see happening for yourself that is positive. You cannot hate yourself into loving you. If you want to go on this journey for yourself, I'm rooting for you. This video is for you, and these are the things that you can do in order to get the results that you want. But if you're trying to change your body from a place of you hating it or wanting change because you want to fit certain beauty standards, it will be very, very hard for you to, first of all, be happy with any of the results that you'll get, but also to stay consistent with it. Because if it's not coming from you wanting that change for yourself, it's very hard to stay consistent. There are multiple methods of creating a deficit. I usually like to start off by increasing my expenditure rather than decreasing my intake, and then I'll transition into a combination of both. So a situation where I've decreased my intake while simultaneously increasing my expenditure. I usually start by introducing a daily step goal. So I would look at what I'm averaging at, and then I would increase my goal with, let's say, 1 or 2K steps a day, and or if needed I would add some additional LISS cardio, so low intensity steady state cardio to start with. And if nothing happens, or if my weight loss would stall for, let's say, 2 weeks, then I would start with decreasing my intake. But I like to start with increasing my expenditure first, because that makes me feel really fit and really healthy without having to worry about the nutrition part first. But then if I would start with decreasing my intake, I would start with cleaning up my diet, meaning I would focus on healthy, wholesome foods. I would probably make some easy swaps, like some high calorie things for low calorie alternatives, or I would get rid of some snacks. That is usually how I start off my diet, and that is usually what gives me the head start. For cardio, I prioritize LISS cardio, or low intensity steady state cardio, whenever I am in a deficit and I do my cardio, or I use my cardio as a tool for fat loss. Now, you should always be doing cardio, in my opinion, because your heart is a very important muscle and you want to train it too. But if you are using cardio as a tool for fat loss, so to increase your expenditure, then focus on LISS cardio. Why? because of fatigue management. This cardio isn't as fatiguing, and therefore you can easily add it into your program without you running the risk of getting fatigued, getting injured, and you can prioritize your energy for your gym sessions. So if you want to combine strength training with cardio and your goal is to maintain as much muscle mass as you can, then I would say prioritize gym sessions. So we do gym sessions usually first and then cardio after. If you want to combine the two into one, if you can divide them, even better. And then you can use the list cardio as a tool to increase your deficit in case you need to. I am doing the Shred program in my app. I have been doing the Shred program in my app for the last couple of months. As I said, I'm following the Shred program from my app. The program can be done from the gym or home. I am doing gym. We have a lot of different programs, as you can see, but I'm picking fat loss as a goal. And let's say that you are an intermediate lifter. Based on your experience level, the exercise selection changes, the periodization style changes, volume changes. So it's key that you pick the right experience level. And then let's say we want to train 4 days a week. Again, frequency also changes the program style and the workout split. So now it's loading in the program. Here we see exactly what we need to be doing every single day that we decided that we wanted to train. The duration indication here is if you want to get your daily step goal on the treadmill, but in general it's just from your day. And then this is what the app looks like when you actually start a workout. So this is obviously a gym workout. You can see the reps that you need to be doing, your tempo, your sets. We can keep track of our weights. We can also pick alternative exercises, and we also see exactly how long our rest should be. And then, for example, this is what the alternatives look like for this exercise, which we can switch for just this workout, or we can remember our choice. And then if you want to add different workouts to your week, you can access the database here. Here you can also see all the different programs that we have available. We can do our breathing exercises, which I love, love, love. And then here is the recipe part, which has all the recipes that I always share. And besides the easy step photos that we always create, you can also access the macro calculator from this section. So these are my macros, but you can recalculate them, obviously, whenever you want to. So if you want me to be your coach and you want to train with the app and get all the recipe inspo and get the training guidance, then you can now get your monthly subscription for just $4.99, and you will be able to lock in this rate for 12 months. So it doesn't mean that you have to do it for 12 months. You can cancel whenever you want to, but if you want to try it for $4.99 and then you end up loving it, you'll have that lower rate for 12 consecutive months, which is the best offer we've ever done. I'll leave the link in the description box if you want to go ahead and check it out. I am an evening person at heart. I've always been an evening person. I just love it when it gets dark outside and when you feel like you can kind of do your own thing, you can be more creative and no one is there to interrupt you. There is no FOMO, you don't have any errands to run. It's just you against the world in the evening. However, that being said, being a morning person is elite. And I would highly suggest trying to become a morning person, or at least getting up early, especially when you are on a fat loss journey. Why? First of all, those same dark hours that you can get in the evening, you can also get in the morning because no one is there to disturb you. Nothing is up and running and functioning yet, and you can just have your divided attention to whatever you want to do. Secondly, you have those benefits without feeling like you are behind the rest of the day. So especially when you try to hit your daily steps, when you try to do cardio, when you try to do your workouts, you try to make meals at home, but you also have your life going on top of it, it is a lot to manage. And so getting up early gives you a bit of a head start without feeling like you're running behind. Usually when I don't get my lifts in early in the morning, they won't be happening anymore because life just kind of takes over. The day just kind of takes over and requires a lot of things from me. And I no longer feel like I'm in charge of my own schedule. So waking up early gives you a head start. Also, in the evening, you won't move around as much. So if you get up early in the morning, it most likely helps with your need, but with your daily steps in general. I forgot to mention something that I wanted to say here. If you struggle with getting up early, I downloaded an app a while ago. It's called Alarmy. The reason why I downloaded the app is because I am such a manipulator mentally when I need to get up early. It is actually insane, and I realized it, so I fixed it. What happened is after my alarm would go off, I would go on these crazy negotiations with myself. It would happen while not even awake. Basically, me convincing me that I deserve to sleep longer because either I trained really hard the day before or whatever it could be. And then I would snooze my alarm without even realizing it. And then during those snooze intervals, I would have full-on dreams, feeling like I had another 8 hours of sleep, dream-wise, not necessarily recharge-wise. And that would continue for like 40 minutes before I would actually get up, which is insane, because what I ended up doing is setting my alarm 40 minutes earlier than what I actually needed to get up to allow myself time to snooze. That is how bad it got. So what I did is realize that I'm the issue. Then I downloaded an app called Alarmy, which is a very spammy app. I have the free version, but in order for you to turn it off, you can do challenges. So what I need to do is scan a barcode, and the barcode that I need to scan is of the matcha that is in the kitchen, which is in another room. So I need to get up, I need to go to the kitchen, I need to scan the matcha, and while I'm standing there with the matcha in my hand, I'm not going back to bed. It's not that bad yet. So that actually helps me. So now I can get 40 minutes extra rest in. I get up early, I scan my matcha, I make my matcha, and I'm ready for the day. It's about you realizing how you are self-sabotaging and then trying to interfere in whatever way possible, because everyone falls off track, myself included. I've fallen off track so many times, but it's all about how quickly you can get back on it. Let's get back to the video. Fat loss isn't just about food or training. It's also about recovery and lifestyle factors, because sleep, for example, is the cheapest and the best recovery tool that there is. So for sleep, you don't want to let your sleep go below 6 hours if you can, because more sleep increases your hunger hormones, it depletes your recovery, and it just makes sticking to a deficit feel impossible. So if you can, aim for 6 to 9 hours in a cool, dark, and quiet room. And stress is another calorie deficit killer, because chronically high stress makes it so much harder to stick to your deficit. If you feel very stressed, then use simple tools like box breathing or going on a short walk outside without being on your phone, or maybe even quick journal entry if you are someone who loves to write, just to kind of release some of that stress. Even if you can do that a couple of times per day, that already makes a very big difference to your overall stress levels. This is one of the reasons why I've been wearing and loving my Whoop device for years, because it actually takes in a lot of different metrics, and then based on how you are doing, how you have been sleeping, what your stress levels are, it tells you what your recovery is. And knowing what your recovery is helps a lot with fatigue management, so making sure that you know when to push and when to pull back in order to be able to keep progressing over time. And so it's just one of the reasons why I love the Whoop device. I also use it to track my steps, to track my cardio training, make sure that I run in heart rate zone 1 to 2. I use it to track my menstrual cycle. There are so many things that I do with the Whoop device that I reached out to them asking to collaborate with me and be able to give you a good offer if you want to go ahead and try it yourself. So if you want to use the link in the description box down below, then you can try Whoop for free for a month. This includes the actual device, to see if you like it and if it helps with getting to know your body and take control of your health, because I love it. And then lastly is hydration, making sure that you drink enough water, which also sounds very simple, but many cravings are just you being thirsty or dehydrated. And all of these things don't just make you feel better, but they actually make fat loss way more efficient. So how do we know that it is actually working? Because you don't want to trust single weigh-ins because they can be all over the place, from water intake, sodium, or you being on your cycle. So instead, you want to weigh yourself daily if you can, if you want to, at the same time, and then use weekly averages. You want to pair that with progress photos or even measurements every 2 weeks or so, and then you can see if your trend significantly changes over time. If the trend is flat for 2 weeks and you have been consistent, then you first want to double check your adherence. Are you actually consistent? Are your steps really at 10K? Are you maybe secretly snacking stuff or cooking with a lot of extra oils? Then if everything is in check, then what you can do, or what I usually do, is either add 1K steps per day or maybe 10 minutes of cardio twice per week. Or if you've already done a lot of cardio and your steps are already quite high, you can decrease your intake with 100 calories per day. But I usually only make one change at a time because then you know if it's actually working and you're not just overshooting. And then the final note: fat loss is not about perfection. It's about boring consistency. It's about these small, repeatable steps, hitting your protein, hitting your steps, getting your lifts in, managing sleep, and those will compound into results. You don't need any detox teas, you don't need any magical supplements or calorie crash diets. What you need is a steady deficit, quality foods, solid training, and lifestyle habits that you can repeat again and again and again. Because the goal isn't to get lean the fastest way possible. The goal is to get lean in a way that lets you keep your muscle, keep your sanity, and also maintain your results. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.